These strings are almost dead, and now it's time to change them. So this is a before and after video of the SJ200, or the J200 actually, with the original strings versus some Elixir 12 gauges. So I'm not really sure if it'll even pick up on the camera here, but you can see the corrosion on these strings in spots all the way down. And like I say, I'm not sure it's even going to pick it up. I can't make it focus on it well enough to do it, but especially down here at the back, you can see the difference in color even, where just the Texas air has taken its toll on these strings. And this guitar does not stay outside of its case but a few hours at a time while being played. So maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. And in the last less than a year that I've owned it, it's already taken its toll on these strings. So whatever Epiphone ships their guitar with on the strings wise, they are not durable at all. We'll see how that compares with the Elixirs here in a little bit. I thought I'd take a moment to show what the saddle and everything looks like during the restring. The frets actually look pretty good considering considering it's an Epiphone, I think. They're not really, there's a little bit of wear showing on the lower end frets. I'll do a cleanup on these guys right here, but that kind of impresses upon you the fact that I can kind of wipe that off, how much the strings were just not doing well. So those strings were not especially reliable, and it surprises me that Gibson would use something like that even on their cheaper guitars. But anyway, just a moment of looking at them as I get ready to put the new strings on. Years ago, I had a Les Paul Standard, and as soon as I put the strings through the tuners, I immediately cut the strings, and it was the worst mistake I ever did, because for years I'd gotten away with doing that and had no problems. But that one time I pulled it through and then realized after I'd cut it that I'd mixed two strings up, and the shorter one, the A string, needed to go where the D string was and vice versa. And the A string, the D string that I'd cut to be an A string, almost had no stability because there wasn't enough of it wrapped around to be able to give it tuning stability. I eventually had to change the strings altogether because of it, but that's just a lesson I learned along the way, that never cut the strings until you've actually gone ahead and figured out that everything is exactly right, because if you do, you might regret it. I'll be back to you in a minute. Now for the finished product. all the difference in the world. $10 worth of strings makes it a new guitar again. Like I say, the difference is absolutely 100% better. Like I said, takes a while for them to stretch in, but overall, totally worth it. Anyway, just showing off the difference between the Epiphone strings that came on it versus, or maybe it's the Gibson strings that came on it. I really don't know who makes the strings that came on it, but the difference between those and the Elixirs is pretty much night and day. Have a good one.